Welcome, everybody.
Welcome, everybody. Liz and Kristi. And
I'm Liz.
And I'm Kristi. By default.
And if you're still with us, that means you do like us. You have officially moved to like past that first base category in the dating scene.
And the check came in the mail.
And so we'll just disappoint you right off the bat. We won't have a guest with us for this episode, but hopefully a little chit-chat, banter, some funny what's in the news topics.
I can't wait.
Okay.
I was just going over the news just now, which I do on the daily. You know, I get my updates and...
Yeah, you read like global news.
I read a lot of newspapers. And I was just looking at this and I was like, there's no way. The maker of Ozempic, Novo Nordisk, is now worth more than Tesla. Wow. Novo Nordisk is now worth $610 billion. And Tesla, as of today, when I looked it up, had a market cap of $560 billion. 2 years ago, Tesla had a market cap of $1.1 trillion, and Ozempic was $255 billion. That's how much they've grown.
Wow.
So you kind of wonder, big pharma, man.
That's crazy.
There's always that one drug, whether it's the Pfizer with the Viagra or the pain.
Oh, hold on. Speaking of Viagra,
I would think that would get you excited. But
I don't know who was talking about it the other day, but I was walking through the room and he said, well, yeah. Oh, he was doing the commercial. Bert was doing the commercial saying, do you know you can get generic Viagra from such
Bert
and such?
Kreischer.
Right, because Viagra can cost up to $90 a pill.
Well, it costs a hell of a lot more than that if your wife finds out you're not using it while she's there. Saying.
Just saying. That's an expensive woody.
That is. And it's the gift that keeps on giving.
And I mean, especially when you say, you know, some people are interested in that sort of thing multiple times a day. I mean, talk about an expensive habit. So, ladies, if you didn't know where your, you know, vacation stash of cash was going, yeah.
Does insurance pay for that?
You know, this is the question of all the things that insurance kicks back and says, you know what, you're responsible. They probably are paying for it.
I never understand those people on the other end that the procedures or whatever you need for insurance. Mm-hmm. You pay all this money for health insurance. And then, as we know, a few months ago, I needed a heart procedure. And they're like, well, we have to call and make sure it's okay. I'm like, but you put a device in my chest that monitors it. And now it's saying that I need you.
Alert.
The heart stopped and you still need approval?
Right.
But yet, let's go out there and spend $90 a pill on Viagra.
Right.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. So in keeping kind of similar topic, similar lane, I think we were watching also Bert and Tom
Segura
the other day.
Two bears. And it's so funny. When we started watching them and loved both of their wives, Christina P. and Leanne Kreischer. And she has a podcast, Wife of the Party, that I've just been binging ever since Bunny, my new best friend that she doesn't know we're best friends, was on. And their crew
cooking,
lives
right.
And they just live in Austin. So I feel like, Texas, that we're practically neighbors.
Right.
They just don't know. They haven't met us yet.
Exactly.
I'll bake a pie and take it by, But yeah, we love binging their podcast.
Okay, so I don't think that you were in the room the other day, or maybe you were taking, I don't know where you were. But
in my own world, I'm sure.
So the guys start talking about this fellow named Naked Martin. Do you know about this? Okay. My bringing this up is only to highlight, where people's...
Our neighbors, Tom and Bert, were talking about Naked Martin?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, but, where people's attention is focused, okay? And the vulgarity that can be acceptable at times. This Naked Martin fellow is basically like a personalized pornographic jib-jab, right? So you go onto his website, you can pay him X amount of money to send a greeting to somebody but he'll do all these obscure, very vile, graphic sort of fetish things, and he's naked, and he's oldish, very oldish.
Oldish.
Yeah, like, wrinkly. I mean, he's pruny. Yeah, he's old.
Okay.
I mean, he's got his AARP card for sure.
Okay. So he makes the porn, or he contracts?
No, it's not even porn. It's like I think they showed him literally, this is so grotesque, I can't even believe I'm repeating it, crapping in his own hand and wiping it on his face and sending that to like Conan or somebody as a greeting card. I contemplated like reversing the episode.
Why would I even need to know that information?
Well, okay, so I was I was doing comparative research. So I watched them talk about it. And then later we watched Bunny talk about picking up a track hoe, right?
Yeah, we didn't know what a track hoe was.
We didn't.
And
you also didn't know. Wait, you also didn't know what. She posted a video the other day saying she was giving up what?
SW. She goes, it's been a year since I've given up SW. And I was like, SW? Is that some kind of scotch or like a brand of something? And then I'm like, and it's Smith & Wesson. Well, why would you? I guess like you can't say gun brands. And so then I'm reading down through the comments, and somebody then puts in there, it stands for sex worker. And then they put an asterisk, whatever, I've watched Vanna White a time or two, so I could figure out what it meant. I was like, I am so sheltered. I'm not really, at least I don't think I am, but
the Playboy bunny who didn't know what SW stood for.
Didn't know what SW was. Yeah.
So, okay, so I'm doing this comparative research, watching Tom and Bert, and then Bunny talks about picking up a track hoe, but not like you think. Like, she and her friends that she hangs out with, they like to go look for girls that like look down on their luck,
the wrong side
or
of town,
hard out or whatever, and just kind of swoop in and say like, look, you've got bills to pay, we're here, and we just want to help you out. And I thought,
Bunny's like Robin Hood.
Yes, every day I love her harder. Mm-hmm. And even the way she owned her blunder at the Houston Rodeo.
Bless her heart.
I just love her. Love her.
The Houston Rodeo has some very strict guidelines for their acts, that you're catering to 80,000 people, and that there will absolutely be no profanity, no obscene anything.
Or you're like banned.
You're banned. Yeah, apparently they say that. But so anyway, Jelly Roll brings her up on stage, and she's like, I don't like big crowds. This is not my thing. I don't want to talk on the mic. And so he hands her the mic. And she says, what the F is up Houston? And he's like, the look on his face was, wait, what?
Did you
just do that?
Blunder my largest public performance to date?
Yeah. Anyway, she was just so cute. She's like, I don't know why. I just went back to what felt best. And I said, you're always welcome back to Texas, Bunny. Don't you lose a bit of sleep over that. Okay, so let's talk about.
Hold on. Can I tell you really fast? If I'm
we
not
have a stalker with good taste.
Yeah, we do. Because some giant man came to the door and he said, I have your delivery. And I was like, well, I just made coffee. And he said, and I said, just coffee? It's from Sweet Paris. Like, y'all make crepes. And he wasn't from the restaurant. He was like the Uber driver. But he goes, here you go. So I came back and said, did you order coffee? And he said,
I don't drink coffee.
Like, well, maybe Reagan. But she came over and I made her coffee. And I said, did you order coffee? And she said, maybe it was my husband trying to be romantic.
Aww.
And I was like, oh, that might be literally the sweetest thing. So I leave the 3 coffees. And I walk away and come back 40 minutes later, and I said, so was it, Nolan being romantic? She goes, oh, I don't know.
But you said, let's drink it.
And I said, well, we might have found a perfect murder because I'm not too good to say no to that. So we're drinking it.
Okay.
Anyways, no, let's talk about comedy camp.
So this past weekend, you and I and Sinclair, my daughter, who's 17 and a half, went back to L.A., to comedy camp round 2. We had the best time.
The best.
Jay Leno, Adam Carolla, Caroline Rhae.
Who is just...
Can I just say I love her?
Yes. There's not enough good things you could say about her. Princess Caroline Rhae.
Yes. Absolutely loved her. And it was hilarious. They had let's see, is it Pat Barker, the roast, the godfather of the roast, comedy roast? And they had quite a few great filler people that came and did their thing. And
but coaches, like this time, it was a very immersive sort of individualized experience. Like they broke you off into groups, kind of like, are you more of like somebody that wants to be a writer, or do you want to do stand up, or how do you want to utilize this in your career? And then you had a coach kind of similar, as well as a group of peers that helped coach you along your session and come up with your set and really get more prepared, I felt like, for Sunday's performance.
I agree. And so then we went, what was it, Saturday night to the Improv.
Yes.
And they had, Trevor Wallace came.
Yes.
And he came to comedy camp too. I can't believe I left him out. But I looked over, and the last performer of the first set of the night, and you were bawling.
I'm honestly
emotional. I
could probably start crying again. I had like a spiritual experience watching him perform. It's true. I was right at the very front. I saw every
Craig Robinson. What's he been in?
I felt like he's a performer that later on down the line, people will talk about having been in the room when he did his thing.
He sang, he played the piano, he told stories. He was phenomenal.
He was in The Office, The Hot Tub Time Machine, Ghosted, Bad Guys. But his performance capabilities, I can't say
phenomenal.
anything. It has to be like honestly comparable to being watching like Prince in person, or
he covered them all.
Yeah.
He put on the show equivalent to a half a dozen people.
Right, but phenomenal. He did it with an artistic madness that just sort of came in like a cloud and set over the room, and then he was just compelled to be exactly him, and it was just a beautiful thing to be in the room with.
Well, when I looked over and you were
it was like waterworks coming out, shooting out my...
You were like, that's the most beautiful performance I've ever seen. He's amazing. And yeah. He was fantastic. But we had, gosh, I just wish you could bottle it, and just had the absolute best time. And it, if there's ever a hitch in the program, David didn't let it show. So it went off flawlessly, and he has the best people, and they come and support him, and just fell in love with Caroline Rhae all over again. And she kept sizing me up in the audience, picking on me.
Well, you did break a few of the rules, but
what were the rules?
You weren't supposed to record her at the Improv. You weren't supposed to take pictures, and you were working on your iPad. In the front row.
In the front row. Yeah, she was like, am I boring you?
I was like, I don't think I had a stroke joke will work here.
Yeah, she was a great sport about it, though.
Oh, and then you got on stage with her. You got out your camera and took a selfie of the two of you on stage. And she was like, I have a feeling you're one of those people that gets whatever you want. And I said, the accent gets thicker the more she wants to.
She was fantastic. And so then she was having a hard time reading the cue cards. And don't ask me, I absolutely knew her name's Caroline Rhae. I mean, I've been a fan for a long time. But I mispronounced her name offering her readers.
Yes, you did.
I'm like, Caroline.
She said, did we not just go
over my name?
But she's so, like, funny just is in her blood. She to me, speaks in funny rhythms. It's just naturally, innately part of who. Now, she might disagree and be like, I've worked really hard for that. But it just comes so naturally to her that you just can't be but happy around her, I think.
Right. And she's so professional. And even in her storytellings, I noticed even critiquing other people in the camp, she was always very careful to give just a little, if it was something constructive, she'd always give like 2 nuggets of positivity after that. We were really excited because at the first comedy camp that we went to in October, we were talking about doing our podcast. And of course, hence, since then, it's dropped. And what's it been like? Is it everything you thought it would be?
It's more work. and not in a bad way. I think just in that it doesn't really matter what amount of prep work you could do. You're not going to learn what you really need to know until you start doing it. And I think that's the thing that prevents most people from doing it. And, when we were there at comedy camp, Adam Carolla's manager, Mike August, made an interesting comment, which I wasn't aware of, is that there are 2.5 million podcasts. Now, he didn't elaborate on that number, but Mark, the fellow that also helps produce ours, said, yeah, but most of those have 2 or 3 episodes and then fall off. Like, there's not enough to keep it going. There's not enough to keep it consistent. And, Caroline made an interesting comment also. She said, look, if you can find the opportunity to do something like this that you absolutely love, and make a job out of it, it'll be the best thing you ever do. And, she also made another comment. She said, my mom didn't have the ability to use her voice, and I'm never going to give up mine. And so I think that taking certain things in context, or having serious discussions with people, or bringing to light things that other women might not talk about or share or be authentic about, is exactly why we want to do this.
Right.
Because we don't want to be those women that just don't have a voice or don't get loud about things that are important or make a difference. And
well, I was watching another podcast this morning, and the woman said, being authentic is what we're moving into, especially since COVID, since so many of us feel like the government lied to us, or that nobody knew what was going on from day to day. That being authentic is it's vague, but it's the most important thing going forward. And she said, if you think being 25 and just pointing to some captions to something that's downloaded is going to make me buy a product because you used it, because you can keep with the beat of the reel.
Right.
No. She's like, I'm a woman of a certain age. I've busted it to get here, and I don't want to be sold a fly by night. I want to say, hey, I tried this. It didn't work for me. Maybe it would work for you. And I think we appreciate that quality in people.
Well, and I think, like we've talked about privately, at least, is that everybody's looking for a new place to source their news or their media, because people have realized that what we're given isn't the truth, or isn't honest, or is too left or right.
Right.
There's not a good middle ground voice that's saying, hey, collectively, let's come together, that people respect and trust. Like, who are the old news anchors that kind of like you sat down because you were like, okay, they're on the news tonight and I know they're going to tell.
Mike Wallace, Walter Cronkite. I mean, I was a little girl, but
it just felt different.
Absolutely. Tim Russert, he passed away, but he had the big whiteboard, and he'd come out on election night, and it wouldn't matter. CNN, MSNBC would have all these electric things, and then he'd come out with this big Sharpie and whiteboard. I just loved Tim Russert. And he passed away of a heart attack a few years ago. But it's like, ever since he passed away, it's not as fun to watch politics.
Right.
Nobody can do it like he could. And, I think there's a lot of people have invested in those brands year after year. And all we do is watch podcasts. But we were watching Theo Vaughn, and he had on Dana White, is chairman of the UFC. And Theo said, he said, look, you don't have to do anything. You're the creator now of your own media empire.
Right.
If you don't want to do something, or, you don't want to drink a certain water, or you shouldn't have to. I mean, just, you can pick and choose now. You have that luxury. And he says, yeah, I had on Robert Kennedy Jr. A few weeks ago, and one of my sponsors called and said, either take the episode down or we're going to yank advertising. And so Dana's like, who said that? He goes, I can't really remember. And he goes, He goes, I'd say the name. So then the producer comes back and tells him it was Peloton. Dana White gets his people on. He goes, do we have Peloton at UFC? And they said, yeah. He goes, it's a stationary bike, right? He goes, yeah. And he goes, rip them all out. Give them away. He's like, screw Peloton. You don't have to do anything you don't want to do. How dare he, the CEO, call you and say, take it down?
Right.
Just because Robert Kennedy didn't do anything wrong.
Right.
He's giving his opinion on the environment and the presidential forecast, and because that's, Peloton's in Northern California, so they're more woke than the prescriptions.
Right.
But he's like, you don't have to. And I noticed I haven't seen a peep from any word from Peloton. But, Dana White canceled them in a matter of a breath. That's the kind of bullying that we don't want.
Right. Well, and I think more people are talking about that.
Right. And, I'm a news addict, and I can't really remember the last time. It seems like all I do now is watch YouTube. I don't know if that's good or bad to get my news, but it's like I check in now with the faces that I know or that I trust, and you kind of create your own little media pocket of this is who I'm going to go to, and this is whose voice I like to listen to relax in the background.
But like you said, it becomes somebody that you trust.
Right.
Like, I want this person. Like, I think anybody would trust Pat Sajak and Vanna White. Well, why? Because we've all seen them.
Well, they've been up there 150 years.
Right. Like, if they walked into our home, we'd all let them right in. Right. And I think it's like developing that kind
of... I wonder how many babies she has to eat a week to maintain looking forever 30 years old. Yeah. God, she looks great.
She does look great.
How old is she?
I don't know.
Reagan, the Wonder Producer, how old is Vanna White?
Did you ever want that job growing up?
Flipping letters?
Yeah.
67 years old.
67?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
she is goals. Huh. Wow. Oh, can we talk about the hooker?
Yeah, talk about the hooker.
That's an intro.
I just can't help my. Can we talk about the hooker?
Yeah, let's.
I feel like I'm the Bert and you're the Tom. You're like, fine, Bert. You haven't used up all your words yet. Go ahead. You've got 5 or 6 left. Can we talk about the hooker? Sure. That's a transition.
Okay, ready, set.
So yesterday I'm reading my Daily Express, the London paper, and it talks about this woman that I guess she caused a little havoc or something at an NBA game. Steph Curry, who's played for the Golden State, I don't know who in the hell he plays for. But anyway, you see this woman, she's very attractive, and she's in the back shot, and like he's making the shot, and you see her in the audience, and she has on this tight, like a situation, like a bustier thing, and she's really attractive. So I'm like, okay, well, it can't be the first pretty girl that's ever come to a sports thing. So I'm thinking, okay, well, who is she? And they said, oh, $900 an hour escort. And I was like, gosh, that's kind of slanderous. Like, if she's not, that.
I hope somebody did fact check.
Well, that's what I did. That was, I had to do their job. So I copy, click, go over to Google, drop in $900 an hour, whatever her name was. It brought me back to her website.
Yeah, I know.
That she was a pro. This is what I charged to spend the night. This is what.
Oh, you found that page?
Yeah.
Because when you were on the business call you were on and you found the website and you casually tossed me your computer and said, is this legal?
Is this legal?
Showing me full-on pornographic photos.
Well, I couldn't believe it that she's advertising this.
Right.
Okay. I was just really surprised.
Like, why hasn't anybody shut her down?
Yeah.
I don't know if there's like loopholes in SW advertising that maybe like she's not.
But I'm just surprised she'd gotten away with it, advertising it so blatantly.
And how long has she had this website?
I didn't ask her. We didn't have any interaction.
We haven't got
that far.
But I
was just really surprised. She's like, if or an hour is this, cocktails, 2 hours and chit chat.
Well, that's the thing. Like maybe that's all. Maybe she's just offering like dating service.
Oh, yeah, no.
Well, that's what I mean. Like maybe the rest is just implied, and that's why she hasn't been shut down.
But it's like, I think it was $8,000 to have her spend the night.
Whew. Well, 8,090.
8,090 is right.
And if she's spending the night, it might be, 180.
Yeah, but I was really surprised. And I was like, God, it must have been a slow news day. Why this woman.
Poor thing.
Yeah. Oh, please. She's loving it. She's got people like me Googling her.
This is true.
Yeah. Now she's probably trending.
And again. And what?
Business is probably booming.
Business is booming.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I think business is will forever be booming in the SW department. Do you want to tell your funny SX story?
Oh. This is a great story. So one of our new fans is an old friend of mine, and he wrote me this week, and he said, and he is by Fort Worth, and he is a surgical vet, and he has been, he's done work on our horses for years. So I had back problems a few years ago, and he had brought his sons down to our ranch. So we had this little banner, and he knew that I had gone into the hospital the day after that they had left because my back was I was just dying. I just didn't know what was wrong. Well, he sends me a text and says, I bet you need S, capital S, little X. I look at the text, figuring, okay, he's going to come back and say, oh, I spelt it wrong, or, I'm trying, this is the rest of the joke. Because when you're in pain, and
That kind of thing is not funny.
yeah, that kind of things. So I'm looking at it, and I said, he thinks I just need sex. Okay. 6, 5, 4. I know I'm going to go off on him if I don't see those 3 little dots correcting what he wrote. So I lay off into him. I mean, as what I pay you to operate on our horses. Don't you ever talk to me that way. You don't know what I need. How dare you say that I need sex? And you don't know me. Well, you know me, but you don't know anything about what. And I am just firing this off and sending it. And so then he writes me back and he goes, SX is the abbreviation for surgery. Are you going to need surgery? And I went, of course it is. Kidding. So he wrote, that was about 10 years ago. So he wrote us this week and said, hey, been watching the pod. If you need an expert on SX, you know where to find me. And I said, I will never live that down.
Ever.
And he said, I can't tell you how many times I've told that story. But he goes, don't worry. I don't throw you under the bus. I said, please do. I'm the first one to poke fun at myself. Yeah. Please tell everybody it's me.
I said to you yesterday we could make an entire greeting card line out of your, comedic blunders.
My comedic blunders. How many did I have in L.A.?
Oh, not many.
Not many?
I'll have to go back and look at the evidence.
Well, our friend was there that was at First Comedy Camp, Norm Pattis. Mm-hmm. And Norm is a very renowned attorney from Connecticut. And he's famous for representing the Proud Boys and Alex Jones. And I just have to tell you that the poor guy gets inundated with the moment people realize who he is. Mm-hmm. They have an opinion about January 6th, which, everybody does, but it's not his fault. In other words, somebody's going to have to represent these people. And, he just says, look, it is what it is. You don't see a lot of the other high-profile cases that I do that don't make it to the press.
Right.
That maybe aren't all have the connotations that Alex Jones and the Proud Boys do.
He's going to comedy camp because he wants to be known for something else anyways.
Right.
So
yeah. And he's just a world-class guy. And, I had told my daughter that definitely has her definite political views on things. And I said, that Norm's going to be there. And I said, you're really going to enjoy visiting with him. And he's so brilliant, so sharp. And she's like, yeah, well, he represented Alex Jones. I said, somebody had to. I mean, I've never seen Alex Jones' show. I'm not a fan. I don't know him. Right. But somebody had to represent him. And he lost anyway. So can we just talk about Dino?
Oh my God, I love Dino. I love Dino. Yes.
Dino is fantastic, and he was at the first camp, and
he has cerebral palsy.
Cerebral palsy, and he has his
walking stick.
Yes, his walking crutches that he gets around on, and he's hysterical. And he's like, "Thank the government. The government pays for me to come to these things, and learn how to entertain people."
He's like the guy all the girls love, and
and he can tell a joke and get away with it. Mm-hmm. And he gets a lot more leverage than a lot of other people. And he's just one of the most charming people, and he's delightful. And I'm really excited to watch all the people that manifested.
Well, I felt like the performances on Sunday, like getting back to the show, because that's the nice thing is if you're somebody that wants to try this, then you do have the opportunity then to perform in front of a crowd, in front of your peers, their family and friends. And, that whole show on Sunday was great. I mean, everybody was in and out in their 3 minutes, and most of the people had really great material. And I think everybody who got off stage felt excited about what they had done and achieved. And
Sinclair was in the roast battle, and she won her battle. And, they stood up and said, just can we have a hand for the child's 17 years old? And she had some really good comebacks, and a couple of, she took the assignment very seriously. But it was so funny because she had her first experience with a heckler, and she talked about her dad had put the Texas Aggie flag over the U.S. flag. And she was like, oh, hell no. No. This is not happening. It's nothing should fly above. She's giving him all the, rundown. And he's like, uh-huh. So she said, of course she's joking. She goes, I just burned the flag. And she meant the Aggie flag.
Right.
So it wouldn't interfere. And somebody said, you can't do that. That's against the law. And she's like, Texas versus Johnson, Supreme Court. And I was like, well, Norm, did you give her that? And he goes, hell, I didn't know that.
No, I feel like she was like top of the class.
Yeah, she was. She absolutely loved it. And what was her great comeback to the
girl
final lady she roasted, and she had a child Sinclair's age.
Yeah, and Sinclair said, when I found out that you had 2 kids at home, age 15 and 17, I decided to laugh at all your jokes so it would feel like if your kids thought you were funny.
She smoked it. I was just so proud of her.
We were talking about like our future participation in comedy camp, and I said I'd have to have a couple different comedians to get me to come back. Like
your new favorite comedian, Craig Robinson.
Yeah. Or honestly, Catherine O'Hare.
Oh, but she wasn't there though.
No. Yeah. But can you imagine if she was going to be like an educator at comedy camp?
I just got to tell you, I'd lose my mind if Dan Levy.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just
anybody
Schitt's Creek.
Yeah.
And I do have to say that when we went to go watch them that Saturday night, an old friend of mine joined us, Scott Sassa, who used to run NBC on the West Coast. And he said, I have never been to a Comedy Store. I've never been to the Improv. This is my first time. So I'm like, okay, well, he had the best time. And he knows what an Aaron Sorkin fan I am. And somebody said something about Aaron Sorkin. I'm like, he goes, calm down. He's not here. And I'm like, he's the funniest person.
But no, Scott had a great time. And I think that, we forget what it's like to observe live performances like that. Or
even Scott was moved by that,
Well, I got to do my shout out to Deidre Hall.
Okay.
Well, because, my girls Erica and Amanda went to that thing while we were at comedy camp.
That's what I need, some of Erica's donuts right now.
I know. She will eventually be
Sunkissed, SONKISSED donuts.
Yes.
Gluten-free, sugar-free, and they are awesome.
They're they're like crack, honestly.
Right.
I'm so mad we didn't get some. She has a trailer in Southern California, and she goes all over. And
She needs to go on Gold Belly.
yes, she does. But while we were at comedy camp, she and my friend Amanda went to like a actors, I don't even know what it was, like a fair or bazaar. It was like all these celebrities doing a meet and greet. And, you know, my girl Deidre Hall, she was there. And evidently Amanda had on a cute blazer. And so I just...
And it was plaid.
It was plaid. So I just wanted Deidre to know that if she wants this, she can get it on Aviator Nation.
Aviator Nation.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So with that being said, remind everybody where they can like and subscribe and follow.
Oh, okay. So catch us every Monday, Wednesday. We drop.
And we're working on that Patreon deal for
Working on the Patreon so everybody can get their $90 Viagra ready.
Yeah, get your 90.
So we can fix you up.
Working on that.
Yes, so go and follow us, listenkristi.com, or go to our link tree. Everything's there. Definitely follow us on Twitch.
And so next time we will see you.
Yes.
Say goodnight, Lucy.
Good night, Lucy.